News today was Bobby Webster getting the promotion. He's gone from general manager to general manager, except he has more responsibilities with the title now. The exact same title that is. Now, I did a full video talking about it on the main channel, Amateur Sports, which you can go check out, and I would highly advise you to do so. But what I wanted to kind of focus on with the stream content that we're doing here, I wanted to focus a little bit more on one of the pieces from that video, which was how rival executives are perceiving the Toronto Raptors. Now, we've kind of known for a while the rumblings coming from other organizations, other teams, is that they are not seeing eye to eye with the Raptors in terms of the strategy here, the direction here. They don't understand what the Raptors are doing, pretty much. And you kind of get that sentiment from other fan bases as well, where it's like, hey, it's a team that's not good enough to make the playoffs, who tanked the last 2 years, who traded for Brandon Ingram, who has given out these big contracts, like a max contract to Scotty Barnes, a $175 million contract to Emmanuel quickly over 5 years, $35 million a year. Brandon Ingram for $40 million this season. You're going to see like, a team that didn't make the playoffs and tanked the last 2 years has spent all this money, made this trade, and are still not a shoo-in to make the playoffs. It's like, what is the strategy going? And from that perspective, I mean, yeah, the way I laid it out there, I don't think I was unfair in anything that I just said there. And it's not a shoo-in to make the playoffs. The Raptors are not a shoo-in to make the playoffs. This is not a team that I anticipate being a top 6 team. Now, top 8, that's attainable. Play-in tournament appearance and play-in tournament success, I think, is a very distinct possibility for the Raptors. But I find a top 6 seed, even in this depleted Eastern Conference, a pretty tall task. And that's what other rival executives are saying as well. We have one from DH Sports, written by Adam Lascaris here. Hopefully I said that right, Adam. Talking about the criticism that is going towards the Toronto Raptors and all the stuff that I've laid out to you already in terms of where other teams are maybe seeing some issue with the team. And this kind of arose from an article, or not an article, but just from the interviews that took place for the vacant team president job for the Toronto Raptors. This article is written by Josh Lewinberg, TSN Raptors reporter, which talked about Bobby Webster getting the job, but it also talked about some of the people who were in the interview process who weren't quite understanding what was going on with the Raptors. And I think the biggest reason why Bobby Webster was promoted and Masai Ujiri was fired is money. Masai Ujiri fired for budget reasons. If they didn't like Masai Ujiri and what he was doing, they would have changed the front office, not promoted his right-hand man, Bobby Webster, to that position. They're clearly fine with what the team is doing. It seems like it's more financial. Also, Bobby Webster getting a promotion is cheaper than still paying Bobby Webster and now paying a team president. So seems like budget is the biggest thing. But at least part of it has to be, again, rival executives and other teams and the perception of where the Toronto Raptors are going. And it didn't seem like the Raptors were intent on firing Bobby Webster. And it seems like if they wanted to hire somebody else, not only would it have been expensive, but that person likely coming in wouldn't be on the same page as Bobby Webster as to what the Raptors were doing. So budget-wise, couldn't really afford it, according to MLSE. And, direction-wise, there would have been some conflicting opinions at the top between the general manager, Bobby Webster, and whoever would have come in potentially as team president. But here's what Josh Lewinberg wrote in his article. Some of the external candidates that were interviewed for the president position pushed back on recent roster decisions made by Masai Ujiri in his front office. One went as far as to calling the trade to acquire Brandon Ingram in February a desperate Hail Mary. They questioned the team's post-championship leadership and internal development and pointed out its salary crunch. Going to the new season with the league's 8th highest payroll, despite winning 55 games over the last 2 years, having the 21st highest projected win total for the 25-26 campaign. So, yeah, the Raptors' win total before I left for vacation 4 weeks ago, it was 36.5. Now it's been 4 weeks, therefore it is very possibly changed. and I will look at it right now. But like, I mean, as I'm pulling it up, just just on the surface, this is the league's 8th most expensive team. Barnes' max contract is now beginning. Brandon Ingram's near max contract is now kicking in. We're only in year 2 of 5 of Emmanuel Quickley's very large contract. Jakob Poeltl has a couple more years on one of the cheaper contracts, but then his contract becomes like relatively sizable as well. So I can understand where some of the hesitancy is from for other executives looking at the Raptors. Let me see. I'm trying to pull up Raptors. So there's no exact. I mean, on the sportsbook I'm playing, there's no exact number here, but we're now probably getting into like the 38 win range of a projection, and this opened up at 34. So 38 wins or so is where the Raptors are expected, and I kind of have to agree that it's like likely high 30s for the Raptors this season if they do care about. I think if there was a confidence that the Raptors would be trying to win every game throughout the season, there wasn't the possibility of a tank. This number could probably get to 40. But again, okay, regardless, expensive team projected to win less than 40 games. And in like a good year, like if it goes well this year, it's probably a team that wins just over 40 games and is like hovering right around 500, which that probably won't quite cut it in getting into the top 6 in the Eastern Conference. Like, let's look at the NBA standings from last season. Like, there were some pretty solid teams that were in the top 6, and I don't believe like close to 500 would have cut it. Yeah, the Pistons were 44-38. Orlando was 41-41. That was your 7th seed. Orlando was the 500 team, and that was your play-in seed. So I think in a good year, that's where the Raptors end up. I think top 8 is certainly possible and plausible for the Raptors to accomplish this season. But, you know, as much as I understand where the Raptors are doing, I can also understand the other perspective of these other teams thinking like, what the hell's going on with this team? Like, what are they doing? For me, it's like, okay. I look at the I at the time the OG Anunoby trade was probably good. In hindsight, you look at that and think you might convince me to say, do the Raptors want to have that one back? Judging by the lack of interest in RJ Barrett in the trade market, there's not a lot of value there. Emmanuel Quickley is on a big contract, which it was probably a slight overpay. He's just got to start playing up to that contract, and maybe it looks better down the line. But I said at the time, it's probably slight overpay. It's more than I wanted to pay him and more than I thought he would get. As for Scotty Barnes, I don't think you had any choice. You had to give him a max contract. That doesn't seem to be the sticking point, really. Like, I think people understand that. Like, you had to give Barnes a max contract. He was coming off of an all-star season on a rookie contract. You had to give him a max contract. The Ingram one as well. Like, as far as the trade, the Raptors really didn't give up much to get Ingram. So the trade made sense. It was like, we don't really love the position the team is in, but this is a really good player who we can get for really not giving away anything. It was like a Pacers 2026 pick and expiring salary. Like, Husho said essentially got it for free. I don't think we can quite say for free. It was a first-round pick that went out, but, like, it was close. And honestly, we didn't get off contract because they were expiring contracts, Olynyk and Brown. But like it was salary dump and a first. That probably isn't a super valuable first-round pick. The Raptors didn't give it much. Salary-wise, I just don't really get how Brandon Ingram is perceived to be like horribly overpaid. I mean, I guess he is because even fucking Brandon Ingram's agents are saying he's overpaid, which is just like utterly ridiculous that his agency has come out and said, he probably wouldn't have got that much money anywhere else. I don't think $40 million was outrageous for Brandon Ingram, and I do agree that there is a certain tax you have to pay as the Raptors and the Canadian team to get these guys. Like if we want them to play here rather than someone else, we probably have to overpay a little bit compared to others. I didn't feel like the Ingram signing was an overpay, but I will hold my hands up and say I'm wrong because His freaking agents are saying he's overpaid, essentially. Paraphrasing what they said, but that's basically what they said. So, I mean, I understand all the perspectives here. I'm of the opinion that I think that this is a pivotal year where, like, yeah, we have invested a lot of resources and finances and team and time into this team. So it is time to start, figuring it out. Like, we can't have another year of, like, maybe next year we'll figure it out. Like, there has to be some success this year. Or else, I'm not saying, like, Webster, I don't think should go. I think he should have time to build his team his way, and maybe he has different viewpoints than Masai Ujiri. I think that's entirely possible. But I think it is important to say, like, if this team misses the playoffs, there should be some drastic on-court changes. Like, you can't just keep running it back at that point. If it misses the playoffs again being this expensive, it's time to make some changes, time to overhaul a little bit, and really retinker around players like Scotty Barnes. That's probably what it's just going to have to be for this Raptors team. Absolutely. T-Dot's fine as 97, so I can see 42 to 43 wins if we buy at the trade deadline and improve the team. Certainly possible. If they're a buying team, what does buying really look like? Like, how do we buy? Like, we could use draft picks for sure and make a buying trade in that way. But the salary, it's complicated to be a buying team. To be a buying team, the Raptors have to trade R.J. Barrett probably and Emmanuel quickly alongside draft picks. That feels like a difficult trade to execute mid-season, especially for Quickly and Barrett, who are not expiring contracts. Like, most of those buying trades are sort of these salary dump sort of trades where you're giving away expiring salary and picks to take on a good player. That team opens up cap space in the season. The Raptors don't have the opportunity to do so. So, yes, they can be a buying team. I can kind of see that. But also, like, I don't really see a viable pathway to being that sort of buying team, which, kind of adds to the complications with more wins in between Indy, us, and Miami. Indy did kind of take a step back, and no Tyrese Halliburton for maybe the entire season. Miami, that's a tough one. I might have to lean in favor of the Raptors between Indiana, Miami, and Toronto. I might have to lean towards the Raptors there. It's not super saying much, though. I think that's more an indictment against Indy and Miami. But complicated spot, essentially, for the Raptors to be in. So I can understand why executives are viewing the team this way, and maybe why people in the interview process perhaps thought that it wasn't a super desirable position.